Welcome to the Panteon Municipal in Celaya. This is one of the two homes of the mummy museums in the state of Guanajuato in Mexico. How Mexican cemeteries work is a little bit strange compared to how they work in Canada, where I'm from. Here, you buy a plot of land, you put your deceased loved one or whoever it is in the ground, and you pay tax on that space. If you don't pay the tax every year, you no longer own the space, and they take the body out of the ground and someone else gets it. So, that happened here. Bodies were being taken out of the ground because people didn't pay their taxes on the spot, and they discovered that the bodies were still preserved. There's something very special on the ground here that causes the bodies to stay almost intact when they're buried. We're gonna find out more about it today in the Museo de Momias in Celaya, Guanajuato. Let's do it.
Todas son muy bonitas, todas han sido encontradas en este mismo cementerio.
I don't think they're pretty.
Oh. Sí son bonitas. Exactamente.
This is so much more intense than I thought. You can smell it. You can smell.
Oh, you can smell it.
You can smell the mummies, and you have to see some of these faces. I think this is probably top 3 most shocking things I've seen in my entire life. Because again, body, closed mouth, totally fine, relaxed. I've seen skeletons before, but I've never seen something like this before.
It's like super close. It's super like it feels real. Like
so, Allison's our guide here for the Mummy Museum. She was saying that there's 23 mummies in the museum. And they are all about 40, 50 years old or so, as far as that's the age ago they died. And because of the soil, and there's lots of salt and mineral in the soil, a lot of them were buried in wood. That also helps, but it sucked out the moisture and preserved them because of the salt and mineral content. And that's why they look like this, and that's why a lot of their tissue doesn't rot and fall away. She also said they all look like this.
their mouths are wide open, which makes me look like they were frightened to death and they died.
Like they died screaming,
yeah,
is what it looks like. However, the actual reality is when you pass away, the ligaments in your jaw start to deteriorate, and so your mouth opens. I don't see that being the case for everybody, but some of them look like they did not go easy. This guy, I'm pretty sure, was a vampire at one point.
So far
in the museum, there's 23. In this room, there's 13 mummies, including one baby goat that was buried in the cemetery and preserved. I wouldn't call him cute, but Ryan needs a moment. It's a little bit intense.
It's a little bit intense.
Honestly, it's more intense than I thought it was. I thought they'd be more skeletons.
Yeah, more skeletons.
Not so human-like.
And the fact that I thought they'd be 200 years old, their soul has gone, it's been gone for a while.
No, there's still some soul left inside.
There's still soul. They're 40 years old dead. That's new. That's fresh.
All right, room number 2. Honestly though, it's a bit much. You can see skeletons in biology class. You can see, maybe if you watch the news or on certain internet pages, you can see fresh dead bodies with some blood. But it's the in-between that is shocking. It makes you feel uncomfortable. If you've seen any of my other videos, you know sometimes I enjoy visiting these places because it gives you a perspective on life. Every one of us will look like this someday, and it's heavy to think about. But if you do think about it, it can help you make choices in life that are a little bit different. I have never seen anything like this in my entire life. This moment will change my life. There are faces here that I will see in my dreams. The face of people who were dug out of the graveyard. Okay, that was the Mummy Museum in Celaya, which was a little more intense than we thought it was going to be.
It's still really, really cool though. Like mummies is a really cool thing, cool concept, cool sort of death thing.
Well, they were telling us a cool story that since the mummies aren't that old, they're only about 40 years old, that family members would still come during Day of the Dead to see their grandparents and share moments with them. And which is actually quite beautiful because we put our dead in the ground, we forget about them, but being able to actually come spend Day of the Dead with your grandmother or grandfather is awesome. Creepy maybe,
cool.
but
it's creepy, but it's how you celebrate it. Depends on your culture, I guess.
beautiful end of the story.
Yes.
Experience over possessions. Kick the grind. Thank you guys for watching. Catch you next Wednesday.